Morning guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video on the LSE Range Rover Classic. Thank you very much to everybody that's been following this build, and thank you to everybody that left a really positive comment on this build. In fact, I would go as far as to say every comment that I received on this Range Rover was absolutely positive, and it really does give us that extra kick up the backside to get on with it and really crack on and try and get it done and get these videos out there for you guys to watch as part of a series. You probably noticed in that last video it was the longest video I've ever done, and I tried my hardest to get it kind of around 30 minutes because I wanted to do a series on it of 30-minute videos. Kind of fits in with the soap operas. While the wives are watching them, you can get on and watch the build on this car. So in the last video, you see us remove that piece of board from the back there, that marine ply that really did stand the test of time. I have spoke to John that originally owned the car, and John said that he fitted that piece of marine ply 16 years ago. So that really did stand the test of time and it really did work. Obviously, we know that the car has stood in Chris's yard for 8 to 9 years. In the last video, sorry, it wasn't in the last video. I did a community post, but for those of you that don't see the community post, I did run straight over and pick up a new boot floor for it. Unfortunately, with the boot floors, they are too small. These are the same as a Discovery, but they are 5 inches too short on that end. So they do also sell this floor in 3 sections, 3 matching size sections. So I've purchased one of those sections as well, and we'll be cutting that today, cutting this one, joining it in and making this into one panel and getting it fitted. I am going to also be going outside now with the car. I'm going to spray the G101 acid all over this and give it a real good deep clean, because we're not going to be able to get up underneath thereafter. I'd also like I'm just going to go and pick up some supplies, pick up some weld-through primer and some black paint or underseal for the chassis, just to make that completely nice and solid so that no weather is going to get to it and it's not going to rot, etc. Because to get to it all again, you would have to take the tank out, etc. We have moved along with it really fast. We removed the whole front end in that last video. I've contacted Land Rover Classic supplier of parts, and they have said that they will work out some sort of discount for me on the repair panels. I don't know exactly what that is at the moment, but I am going to be contacting them later on this morning with a list of the repair panels that I do require, and then hopefully they want to help us out, get involved in the build, and it will just bring us that little bit further forward and we can get on with it. But the plan is today to get that boot floor fitted in the back of here. Guys, while I'm waffling on, please don't forget, share this video. I'd love to get it out there, get everybody involved in it, and if you've got any questions or comments, as usual, please leave them in the comment section. So no more waffling on, let's get involved, get outside, get this cleaned. Absolutely brilliant how that come up. I just sprayed a bit of that G101 over it, let it eat in for a couple of seconds. Obviously we got a little bit of mess here from jet washing, but everything has come up really nice. The chassis, I've actually just looked, you probably can't see it on camera, but the whole chassis is actually already covered in wax oil, and these very minor surface rust. But like I said, I am going to whip down, pick up a can of weld-through primer. Chris is in there at the moment drilling out some holes, ready to place it in, getting it all lined up. You would have seen him coming backwards and forwards there, getting some measurements. So while he's doing that, I am going to go and buy some black chutes to put in our gun, and we are going to chutes all of the chassis as much as we can without that floor in there, because we know, like I said a minute ago, the top half of it we're not going to be able to get to again. But I am very, very impressed with how clean it all come up underneath all of the surface grime that was on there, because most of it, to be fair, was just dust. And if you look at the inside edge of that back panel, it's absolutely solid. It's been covered in wax oil and it has not got a drop of rust on it anywhere. So there's a lot of little bits and pieces that we wasn't going to be able to get to, and we now can get to. You can see all these lines, they've all cleaned up very nice. A couple of the lines in here are new, so quite a lot of it has been done, and before it got parked up, it was always looked after. So I'm not going to waffle on anymore. I'm going to go and get the supplies so that we can get on with it. Cut back in there and give you a bit of an update. As you would have seen, I've given it a real good clean off with the acid and a jet wash, and I've just been going through with the airline, blowing off as much of it as I possibly can. I've just grabbed a couple of sheets of sandpaper, and now I'm going to go around, just lightly take off what's left on top of the chassis. But as you can see, it is very solid, and it's just very minimal surface rust, and you can see where the wax oil has been sprayed on it previously. So I'm going to be obviously going around doing that, and I will pop it onto time lapse just so that you can see me doing that. But I thought I'd actually cut in now just to show you what it was Chris was doing with that boot floor. So these boot floors are not actually quite long enough. We're talking 5 inches, I think we worked out, Chris. Like that, yeah. About 5 inches too short on this back end. But in order for Chris to lap this over, it would look quite horrible on the ends, Chris, wouldn't it?
We need to get these.
We need to get these right on the end off, just to make it look correct.
So the carcellations follow.
Yeah, so that the carcellations follow all the way through. So rather than just chop a bit off the end and leave them carcellations open-ended, Chris is actually going to cut this end off. He's going to cut out the section that we do. We're going to actually cut these ends of these carcellations off, and then get the other section that we need, the length that we do need, join it in there so that we've got one complete floor pan. And then obviously Chris has been through already and started making all the holes where this is going to be spot welded back in the car. So let's carry on with what I was doing on the chassis, and I'll leave Chris to carry on, get that finished, and then we'll obviously come back when we get to the time where we're going to be welding this in, or at least getting it in place and screwing it down. It's all now cleaned up and exactly how we want it. Weld through primer. We've been round all of the exposed edges that we are going to be welding all the way round. Let's get a bit closer. You can see it on there. We have only just done that, so we need to give it 10 minutes to dry. Chris did do this about 15-20 minutes ago, so that is all now done, and he's going to be sticking that together. I'll let you do that, Chris. I'll just show the rest of it. All the holes are there. And we're going to be obviously welding that on and then we'll clean that up and do it all one colour. So overall, it was quite a pain that they don't do one that length, but the LSE is a very limited model, obviously. We did think that this boot floor was exactly the same size as a normal Range Rover, because like everybody said, the 8 inches is actually in the back footwell there. But speaking to the guy where I went and got the boot floor, he said, yeah, but they only make one floor, which is the short wheelbase Range Rover and the Discovery, and that is the floor there. So you've got nothing else you can do apart from extend that floor. So we really are moving along with it as usual. We have, like I said, we did go down, get that Schutz. Chris has just cleaned the gun out, so we will be spraying that before we stick the floor in. We'll be spraying that all over the chassis, and I will come back in obviously and show you that, and it should look absolutely beautiful in there. I've taped up most of the lines the absolute best I can. Like I say, they're not something that's going to get affected anyway, but they are all covered up so that when we do put it down, we can unwrap it and they'll all be exposed and still be quite nice. So we are going to carry on there. We're just going to have a quick coffee break and then crack straight on and try and get this done today. Masking up there, we have actually got the whole floor screwed down dead flat to a piece of wood, and obviously Chris has gone along and clamped it down absolutely everywhere. We don't want no distortion in it when it's getting welded up. We want to get it absolutely as flat as we possibly can. So that's how far we've got along with it so far. You probably would have seen a little bit there on the time lapse where we had to actually push the car in. We have run out of petrol in it, but that's not going to be an issue. We didn't want to put any petrol in it now anyway. We are just about to weld this floor in. We are going to be very careful, but to have no fuel in the tank is an absolute plus, I suppose. So yeah, that's the plan now. We're going to get that floor welded up, and then we'll get it in the car and get it welded in. Chris got in there with the Schutz. I'm just going to show what that is, guys, because I know somebody will ask. And it's a body Schutz, black textured by 3M. And literally, we only sprayed it on the places that we're not going to be able to get to again. So the fuel tank strap and all of the top parts of the chassis all the way around. It is really good stuff. It's something that we've used for many, many years. And it really does help prevent any rot or rust coming through again. I'm just going to walk round to the floor. Chris just has finished plug welding all of that up. So now that is one complete unit. And the next time you see us, we're going to be putting it in the car and start welding that all the way around, getting it fitted in there. We are trying to get this done, hopefully all welded in there and buttoned up for today. And then that way we can move on to the next part of it, i.e. the front wings or the seals. We haven't decided what part yet, but that is obviously to come as well. So we are going to get on there, get this unscrewed from the board, start getting it into position, and then obviously I'll come back once we're ready to weld it in. Guys, that is all sitting in there, it's all in place, and as you can see, we're going along there, screw one, miss a couple, screw another one, miss a couple, etc. And we've done that all the way along. And what Chris is going to do now is go in between and weld them up, but he's going to start from the middle and work his way out, and then after we've done all of those welds, we'll go around, take all of the screws out and plug weld all those holes up as well. So I'm not going to be able to film any of it, unfortunately. It is welding and you could get arc eye, so I'm not going to be filming any of that welding, but I may time lapse a bit of it. I'm going to be getting on round the front while Chris is welding this up. Obviously I don't want to stand here while he's welding it up and end up getting arc eye myself. So that's how we're doing so far, and it is looking really good that we are going to get this nipped in the bud by the end of the day. There we go, guys. I know it looked like I wasn't doing a lot today, but unfortunately someone has to be on fire duty while the other one's welding, and quite frankly you wouldn't be happy with my welding anyway, so we leave that to the experts. Chris has just finished grinding them off now. As you can see, this is where we've joined it. He's ground all the welds down all the way through, and it's now got a completely nice solid floor. Those seatbelt anchors, we have run the tap down through them, made sure all the threads are clean, put new bolts in them, and now they're all up in the right position where they should be, ready to bolt in. So all in all, a good day's work, made really good progress. We're quite happy with it. This was obviously the worst part of the car because it was completely missing, and now we couldn't be happier knowing that it's got a nice new floor right the way through it. And we have obviously put that schutz underneath on the top of the axle. Sorry, the chassis, the axle. I don't know what I'm going on about. It's getting quite late in the day. So that was all just the bits that obviously we couldn't get to. And then when we get underneath, we'll be able to do all the sides of the chassis and up underneath it. When we're doing all the brake pipes, we'll probably do it when they're all moved out of the way, and it will give us a lot more access to get in there. So we'll just go over, give it a nice rough up, make sure that there's no surface rust on there, and go over it. I will come back to that in a sec. I just wanted to point out, I've been noticing it every time we remove something, the amount of wax oil that is inside all the crevices on this car. That is why it has lasted so well. The last owner really did look after it, and I've had a look all on these inner panels. They are all wax oiled, so that's why it's lasted so long, and it obviously hasn't rotted out like all the others do. Excuse me. So yeah, guys, we're really happy with the progress. I am going to get on the phone in a minute before the parts place shuts, and we're going to order up those front end parts and those seals. And the seals, I think, is going to be the next part that we do get on with. So we'll be replacing that whole section from the B post back to the arch, and we have decided we're going to get possibly one, could be two little repair panels for those arches. But all in all, good day's work. Seem to have achieved everything we needed to in today's video. We will be going around, obviously priming all these up. We'll do them all together. There's no point in us doing it in one hit. We'll probably knock some primer up in the gun at a later date and go round and do all the primer work on all the welds. After we've done that, we'll be going around, obviously seam sealing it all and sealing it up so that there's no leaks, and making sure, number one, most important, no water can get to any exposed metal, because obviously we don't want the car going rusty again. We do plan on doing this, and we do plan on selling it. So we want somebody to get a real good car and know that everything has been done absolutely correctly. So guys, like I said earlier, please share the videos. If you enjoy it, give it a thumbs up. We really, really do appreciate it. If you have absolutely any questions whatsoever, as usual, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. I will do my absolute best to get back to each and every one of you, like I always do. Quite a lot of you will probably comment on the blankets we used today. Not the colour, just the fact that they're not fire blankets. Unfortunately, we don't have any fire blankets, so this is the best we could get today. And obviously I was standing by with 2 fire extinguishers, and I had the little squirty bottle up there, and I was going around squirting underneath as I was getting hot and glowing up, just to make sure that we didn't have any fires whatsoever. You would have seen on the time lapse that we did stop halfway through. That was just to let the smoke clear, let everything cool down before we went on and got on with the other side. Sorry guys, I seem to be waffling on again. Thank you very much to everyone that purchased the merchandise. If you haven't already, check out the merch store in the link in the description. Don't forget, please like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you in the next one.